Hello friends, welcome back to Spiritism for All, and today we continue to study the book Behind the Scenes of Obsession, the chapter The Spiritual Help, the second part. The spiritual author is Manoel Philomeno de Miranda on the left, and the medium is Divaldo Pereira Franco on the right. Continuing the first part, just to remember, we are in the middle of a obsession meeting that's happening in the spiritual side, and Saturnino is the benefactor, the spiritual benefactor that is coordinating the process. And here we have the obsessor named Guilherme, and we have Mariana, who was present there through the astral projection of her soul while she was asleep. And they are talking. Mariana was Guilherme's wife in a previous life, and at that moment her name was Aldegundis. So she is remembering the past life and discussing the relationship, the broken relationship with Guilherme, the obsessor. So let's continue to the book. Nominally summoned, Mariana gave a terrible cry and fell, overcome by strange convulsions. Watched closely by Saturnino's advisors, who at that time were supporting the frantic interlocutor, she took the aspect of a mad person, and with faces of singular horror, seeming to wonder, she replied, "Yes, I remember you, and I hate you too." She now remembered Guilherme, her ex-husband. Always unhappy. What have I been, and what am I? Where am I now, and why I feel so mad? Why these ghosts that torture me don't leave me? Why doesn't death consume me? Oh! Repulsive laughter broke from her lips, as if the reason had been taken away from her, as she continued, "Yes, I abandoned you. I've been cursed by myself 1,000 times, and I've cursed you too. Everyone cursed me. Between all of us, I don't know who is the most unfortunate. However, I hate more the one who made me consume the hopes of a woman and the dreams of a mad woman in the sad asylum of Haarlem. Don't you know that I tried to find you again? Sorry. But it's too late now. I don't remember anymore. I don't know. I just know that I'm close to him now, and I will make him pay. Oh, hallucination. What do I say? Where am I?" Here she's remembering the past life, where she abandoned the husband. He was a Jew, and you see that the one that caused her relationship out of marriage was another Jew that worked for Guilherme, and that in this life was her father. That's why she, Mariana, couldn't accept her father. She didn't like him, and he didn't like her, because they knew intuitively what they have done in the past life. At that moment Saturnino approached the young woman and spoke to her kindly. You are facing your own conscience, without the benefit of oblivion. You are not the Mariana of today, frustrated and restless, but the Aldegundis of yesterday, maddened, suffering. Here we are all to respond to the dictates of conscience, in need of reparation. And who wants to judge me? She interrupted him angrily. No one, my daughter, he explained confidently. No one wants to judge you, or even examine the mistakes of others, mistakes that we all have. We are gathered, however, in order to correct impressions and establish a new line of conduct, instead of postponing our responsibilities to the dark days that await us. But I am unhappy, she remarked. Nobody sees that. I am accused and nobody listens to me. We are not in a court of law, the instructor answered solicitously, but in a sanctuary of prayers, temple and hospital, under the guidance of Jesus Christ, the unconditional friend of us all. Suddenly, screaming, the executioner replied, Let's end the farce. I am the victim of all these cruel executioners of my life. Who dares to interfere with my problems? I don't need a helper or an intermediary. I have been weeping the infernal pain alone, and I won't be now that it won't be now that I will have the urge for someone to help me when I'm finishing my plan with the success that I will soon have. Be silent so that I can remind this woman, a spoliator of others' happiness, all the harm she has done to me. Approaching him, Petitinga involved him in his affectionate vibration, while the medium Moraes, invited by the instructor, applied healing blessings to Mariana, whose distress seemed to unbalance her. Wrapped in black fluids, congested, she cursed, deafeningly. Dona Rosa and Amália, properly supported, although not understanding the full extent of the occurrence. Dona Rosa was mother of Mariana, and Amália was a sister of Mariana. They were Spiritist workers, and they didn't get all the picture of what was happening. So they prayed in silent tears. Saturnino invited her mother, Dona Rosa, to take her stunned daughter into her arms, and while she did so, the venerable woman, bathed in a tenuous light, cooperated with Moraes, managing to calm the girl, who slowly regained her serenity. Let's get back to the truth, Mariana's harasser boomed. I want the truth of the facts. If here I am overwhelmed by avenging demons that have not yet quenched my thirst in my infinite misery, I appeal to the forces of Dr. Theophrastus to support me. Justice, I want it, nothing more. My revenge has the force of my justice. I am not soulless. I am a vigilante who returns in the name of truth. I reiterate my appeal, therefore, to Dr. Theophrastus, my benefactor. Where is he? Now the obsessor spirit, Guilherme, is asking the help of Dr. Theophrastus who is, in this case, an evil spirit, an obsessor that led lots of obsessors, evil spirits that obeyed him, and we will know his story in next chapters. But he is a very difficult and evil spirit. We will see. So Guilherme is asking his presence there in order to help him to complete his revenge. Uselessly, Saturnino clarified, you will ask for help from those who live in need of help. Brother Theophrastus is forbidden to enter this precinct. Only those who come in the name of love and those who are in need of love, like you, my brother, have access here. They are in a Spiritist center who is protected by real benefactors, real spirits of light. So Dr. Theophrastus couldn't enter there if he were not invited. So Guilherme answered, I refuse your love and your pity, he humbled, rebellious. What I want? What you want, said the spiritual friend calmly, is peace and love to remake what you have destroyed. Unfortunately, you do not know that you also need forgiveness, but first of all, you must forgive. Aldegundis became your executioner, no doubt. But she was always your victim. You speak of desertion from home, or of male honor. Where, however, is your honor and your fidelity to the home? Was woman merely an instrument for man's passion, or merely the vehicle of illusory pleasure? What about female feelings? What did you do to staunch the tears of loneliness she was experiencing beside you? How many times did you stop to listen to her? What amount of time have you offered her? You wanted to give her fortune, yes, forgetting to give her intimate security and affectionate assistance. No, my friend, here do not clash as you would want to make us believe. Victim and executioner. We see two victims of themselves facing each other, deluded by their crazy earthly ideals. The days of Netherlands have passed. However, the roots of the mistakes of all of you are alive, embedded in the land of memories. Mistakes that need to be rectified. Get ready to retrace your path, not to apply justice that we all need. So you know, he bellowed, eliciting sympathy. The speaker, sobbing, my drama? Why do you refer to Netherlands? How do you know I come from Holland? Do you know that this woman? Yes, my brother, replied the instructor, I know. But just as the law of God is inscribed in every man's conscience, our actions are engraved in our immortal minds. We do know your story, and the drama of Aldegundis, who you now want to destroy, a task that will not succeed in, positively because the Lord of Life has already said, enough. But she betrayed me and abandoned me, he said. We know that, he replied, but we also know that while preparing the powder is a marshy lowland conquered from the North Sea and inner lakes in Holland. So it's a kind of land. So while preparing the powder in the northern Amsterdam, fascinated by the prospect of acquiring large swaths of land for cattle grazing, despite the immense tulip plantations you already had, you left her, Aldegundis, her wife, almost abandoned for long months, while the drying of the lake that existed between Haarlem, Amsterdam, and Leyden lasted, work that lasted from 1837 to 1840, so 3 to 4 years. Feeling alone, inexperienced, and without the strength to fight against the passions of her nature, she could not resist Jacob's constant onslaught, ending up letting herself be dragged into the river of mud that later led to her madness. Don't remind me, he snapped, the name of Jacob van der Koppel, the infamous thief of my happiness. I found him too. At first, everything seemed strange to me. Jacob van der Koppel was now the father of Mariana. For many years I felt his presence and felt beside him, despite the differences he presented. I was metamorphosed. Everything was at first unreal to me, until I was led to Dr. Theophrastus, who offered me excellent explanations, elucidating the bandit's return to the hiding place of the body, teaching me, however, how I could torture him and obtain my revenge, which I have been doing with real infamy. He is talking about Mariana's father. Indeed, added Saturnino undisturbed, Jacob returned to the flesh, dressed in the garment with which he now identifies himself by Mateus. The frivolous man of yesterday is the tormented man of today, walking along the narrow routes of self-purification. He received in his arms by the same imposition the one he had wronged, and her presence is an unpleasant torment to him. Although he cannot remember, he experiences the vibrations that are related to him, despite the aversion that overtakes him, making him unhappy. Nobody cheats life. The code of justice accompanies the offender, expressing in him the need for legal compensation, hence the need for those who believe they have been spoliated to forgive their robbers. But I won't be able to forgive, barked the surprised conductor. Everything here today is a surprise to me. I find it difficult to understand what is happening, and I have disturbed my reasoning. Who are you? Who are harassing me for the second time? Is this a cruel nightmare, one of those who previously took possession of me when I was lost and disgraced on the cliffs of the hallucination? referring to the punitive region in which he had found himself after the nefarious suicide. The astonished interlocutor was suddenly transfigured, and seeming to suffer indescribable sufferings, he began to debate, crying profusely. Seeing him hallucinated, reduced the condition of a slave to himself, there was no way to stop believing that every persecutor is someone persecuted in himself, and that the avenger is only a spirit macerated by the evocations of his own delinquency. Saturnino's co-worker, Solicitus, quickly came to the designated sufferer, applying comforting energy transfusions to him so as to disentangle his mind from the ghosts of painful evocation. After a lengthy magnetic operation, in which the poisonous energies elaborated by the low vibratory content of the spirit himself were dispersed, he gradually recovered, regaining some serenity. The mental addiction resulting from thoughts vibrating in the same wave generates the delinquent idea in the personal psychosphere of his Ishwar, agglutinating forces of the same quality, in turn emanating from maladjusted intelligences, which are transformed into destructive energy. Such energy is the result of mental blockage due to the tension density in the aura's magnetic field. Then, in the aura, by the force of the devastating state of monoideism, are imprinted the psychic constructions which become mechanisms of personal scourge or instruments to torture others, always operating in the same field of identical mental vibrations. In this paragraph, we can see very interesting ideas and explanations how the monoideism that consumes a spirit works, because our thoughts, our brain has the ability, and we are talking about the spiritual brain in his spirit, is able to produce thoughts, and those thoughts are energy waves, like electromagnetic waves, and they can create the idea thoughts, which are thoughts that turn to be a production of mind, an idea that is materialized on the level of the perispiritual energy. And this energy affects the aura, the perispiritual aura of the emissary spirit. And as a wave, we have all the conditions of tuning, so the tuning of the thoughts to other spirits, thoughts transform two minds in resonance equipment. So one produces an idea, a wave form is created, and this wave form is received by the others who think in the same symphony. It's a resonance like in physics. And it can create an atmosphere of destruction or an atmosphere of higher energies, as when you say a prayer. This paragraph is very important. When these energies are directed to the incarnate and they get tuned through the thought wave, producing the regrettable obsessions that also affect the centers of body formation, the cells in charge of psychic or psychical metabolism degenerate, making themselves in disturbing long-term illnesses. That's how the many illnesses appear over in incarnate people due to psychic illnesses or illnesses that our nowadays medicine don't know what's the real cause, and the thought forms, the mental wave vibrations produced by obsessors can be one of these causes. That's why happiness or misery each one takes with himself, thanks to the direction one offers to his thought towards the elevation or lowering of the spirit, a direction which guides the force able to transform itself into an impulse lever or to a redemptive chain to the regions oneself gets magnetized. Recovered from the unexpected disturbance, the afflicted spirit asked, "What's up? Where am I? Why am I coerced into saying what I don't want to report and listening to what I don't want to hear? Who are you, gentlemen?" Giving to his voice the tone of goodness that was usual for him, Saturnino said, "We are all, my brother, whether we like it or not, in the Heavenly Father's house. Children of His love, we let ourselves be dragged by the currents of spiritual freedom, or we are shipwrecked in the revolting waves of passions, always inside some department of His home, which we choose by our own will for our habitation. Here we find ourselves in a Spiritist temple to help those who have already crossed the threshold of immortality and voluntarily join the painful here when they could rehearse the first flights to broader trials in a happy life. And trying to emphasize the chain of ideas for a better explanation, he clarified, "Cultivators of Jesus Christ lessons, we seek to treat the path taken by Him, opening arms and hearts to those who suffer and ignore the means of freeing themselves from the yoke of despair, means that are found in themselves, lying under the rubble of their own scourge that they impose on themselves. We brought Aldegundis, whose body rests in Mariana's organic form, and we also led her mother, her sister, and other companions in physical life to examine, in the light of our Father's love, for us the bitterness that make you unhappy, seeking to reduce the intensity of the causes of such mortification." He paused briefly, spontaneously, to consider the effect that his words had on Mariana's persecutor. The young woman, in turn, gently embraced by her mother, who seemed transfigured into a radiant with tenderness Madonna, thanks to the supreme pain supported with love and resignation, listened, reasoning with understandable difficulty, however, attentive to the explanation. So Mariana was listening to and trying to understand all the situation. Guilherme, the obsessor, was already beginning to understand all the help that was happening at that place. As I understood, roared the Dutchman, Guilherme, this is a plot to make me give up to the justice execution I've been waiting for. Justice, replied Saturnino, reaches the offender without the need for a new executioner. The divine laws have remedial resources before which nothing is left without the necessary repayment. And here is very important to rephrase and to make clear. Revenge is not needed. All aggression will have to be repaired due to divine laws. Divine justice is not like man's justice, when sometimes and many times, unfortunately, the aggressors can free from justice. Divine laws don't allow this. Every evil, every harm has to be repaired, but they don't need anyone to become an executioner in order to make divine law happens. There's no need of that. So Saturnino was saying, Jesus, and he was interrupted. Jesus, Guilherme snapped. Let himself to be martyred. Yes, added Saturnino, and he forgave his persecutors. But he was a god, he admitted angrily, as the religion teaches. God, clarified the mentor, there is only one. And here the Catholic religion makes all the confusion. It's a real mess in the heads of his and believers. Jesus is not God. Holy Spirit is not a third person. The Holy Spirit represents all the spirits. God is the creator of everything. Jesus is a high-level spirit, a Christ-like level spirit. But he is not God. He is the most perfect spirit that we can face in this world, because he is the Christ responsible of the creation of earth, and he is the earth Christ spirit, but he is not God. So the benefactor is explaining this to the obsessor. Jesus is the Son of God, as all of us are. A living lesson of love that we can all attain through the opportunities he gave us to discover, opportunities that now come to you, urging you to become a manifestation of God who is in everything and in everyone, waiting for the blooming through our inclination toward the truth. But I live in hell, he replied bitterly. How could I reach God if all in me are desires of revenge to appease the hatred that undermines my own reason? Good question. True love. We have to start loving and forgiving. That's why Jesus told us to forgive all the aggressions. Hell is the result of your state of rebellion. In your refusal to love, you condemn yourself to despair without remission, while the fury of revolt that you put in the furnace of hate lasts. And the debtors? Guilherme asked. Life will take care of them, now or later. That's what Saturnino explains again. God does not need obsessors to evil spirits, avengers, none of these. Divine law will prevail ever. A heavy silence fell over the disobsession room. Somewhat serene, he seemed to slowly sink into accurate meditation. Very diaphanous fluids penetrated the room as if they were directed by invisible agents, which eased the tension that had prevailed until now, in the meeting, benefiting everyone with a blessed and necessary air. Strange and reassuring calm dominated everyone. Thanks for watching, my friends. This chapter was a dense one, lots of emotions, and the next ones will be as good as this one. In next chapter, we will study obsession technique. Thank you very much for watching us. If you like this video, please subscribe, leave us your like, share with your friends, and leave us your comments. Thank you very much.